I'm afraid our 9 o'clock time frame contributes to that. We'd be a lot easier off, I think, if we were a little later. But
oh my goodness, it's 9:02. Let's call this meeting to order. Will the clerk or staff please call the roll?
We're doing it ourselves this time.
click roll call. Or no?
Hannah, would you like to start?
Hannah Royce, present.
Derek Scobie, present.
Chris Steele, present.
Erin Engelke, present.
Stephen Buck, present.
Leslie Nesmith, present.
Ryan Haney, present.
Seeing a quorum, we will proceed. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next agenda item is public comment, or I should also recognize, first of all, that this meeting was properly, the notice for this meeting was properly posted on August 5th, 2022, and we are in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. Agenda item number 1 is public comment. I did not receive any notice or request for public comment. Seeing none, we will go to agenda item number 2, which is discussion and possible action to approve the meeting minutes from our July 13th Citizen Advisory Board meeting. As a reminder to everyone on the committee, we have started trying to use our technology and make the motion in a second according to our iPads, and I see that a motion and second has been recorded. Motion by Leslie and a second by Hannah. If you are in favor of that, you can vote yes. If you would not like to approve the minutes, vote no. That didn't work for everybody.
Yes.
Agenda item number 3 is discussion and possible action regarding an update and report by Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Greg Williams.
Yes. Thank you. Good morning. My update this morning, we'll talk a little bit about some operational statistics, some new and upcoming projects. I'll talk a little bit about some suicide overdose prevention efforts that we're doing. We have had a couple of detainee deaths that I'll discuss briefly, and so that's where we'll go. We did have 2 deaths. We had a former detainee, Slavens. He was assaulted in the jail. He was taken to the hospital. He spent some time at the hospital before he passed, but he did pass away. We had Robert Richards, who was also found unresponsive, and we've taken him to the hospital. And again, he died later at the hospital the next morning. We think it was probably a cardiac event is what caused that. And again, both of those have been submitted to the medical examiner's office, and we're just waiting the results of that examination. So that's really what I have to report on that. Our COVID cases, we've had 8 positive COVID tests with detainees during July. We had 13 employees test positive during July. And again, right now we have no active cases. All of those cases have completed their quarantine protocols, and we have no active cases as of today. Our protocols remain consistent. We test all the detainees 3 to 5 days after reception. If they're positive, then we quarantine them for an additional 10 days. If they're negative, then we'll go ahead and assign them to a general population, absent of any signs or symptoms or reported exposures or concerns of any nature like that. Again, we don't have a mandate right now for masks, but we do encourage people to wear masks. And again, some people really prefer that, others don't. We do encourage all detainees to get vaccinated. We have all 3 vaccines available for the detainees and for staff, and the boosters and that whole protocol. So that's all very much available, and those protocols, I believe, have been very successful as our COVID numbers remain pretty stable. We had 10 new hires during the month. As of the end of July, we were at 306. Our numbers are up a little bit from that today. We do have a job fair going on at 1 o'clock, starting at the detention center today. So we're geared up and hopeful that we'll have a good response to the job fair. But again, that number is well below what we would like to have. We'd like to have about 400 staff. So again, right now we've traditionally run about 70 or 80 short of our goal, but that's where we were at the end of July. Booking and releasing, our population this morning was about 602, and again, that number fluctuates as we receive and discharge people pretty regularly. About 60 to 80 a day come in and leave the jail, as you can see. In July, we processed 3,891. We had 1,945 releases and booked in about 1,946. A year ago, our population was 1,723, and when this count was taken, it was 1,622. So it's still below what we were at last year. We have about 120 right now waiting DOC, and about 100 and so that have been sentenced to jail time. So again, that's kind of our population. Some projects that we've got going on. We did apply for ARPA funds, and the Governance Committee, the Policy and Governance Committee, have recommended 3 projects be approved. One of those was a heating and air system balancing And you've been at the detention center, you know that we have hot and cold spots, and that's due to the balancing of that system. But they did recommend that we go ahead and complete that heat and air system by getting that system balanced. They recommended that we get our loading dock and overhead doors repaired and replaced, and also some roof. And that roof is the metal awning. As you see the jail, we have that metal awning around the bottom part of the jail, and that is leaking, which is causing damage. That water running into the wall and causes damage. But they have recommended that those projects be approved. We're waiting right now for the county commissioners to approve that funding. We do have a project going on with our camera system, and you can see a couple photos here, what they're like before the replacement and then what they're like after. And you can see the clarity is much better. In addition to that, the cameras have facial recognition, so we can actually track a person through the jail. Yesterday, I'd find somebody at the jail on a camera and click on them, and it says where were they at before this photo was taken, and it'll go back and show everywhere in that facility where they have been, so you can track people throughout the facility, which is very nice for if you want to know where they've been or what they have done before, and it'll do that with recorded as well. So if we've had an incident, we want to go back and say, where did these people come from, or where did they go after the incident? And we can track those folks. So that's very nice. So really, beyond the clarity and beyond the quality of the picture, we get a lot more intelligence, if you will, with that system. And again, it puts a red box around the end of the people, like you pull up a camera and it'll show the dormitory or an area, and then it'll put a red box around the people. So you can just, at a glance, you can see who are the people in this view, and it's a fisheye lens, so it shows the entire pod at one time, and you can zoom in and change the angle. It's just a much better system. Enough of that. Suicide and overdose, we did have 2 incidents week before last where staff were able to find people in distress, and we were able to administer aid and save their life, really, in essence, in my opinion. And we've had 2 this week as well. So again, exposure to illegal narcotics is still a major concern. Fentanyl, both of the people that I interviewed or talked to afterward, they admitted, yes, I took fentanyl. Yes, I knew it was fentanyl. And again, just so we reimagined our education, and we put more flyers up, and we're in the process of making some videos. I met with some medical staff yesterday, and we're going to make some videos and have some health professionals come in and really talk about the dangers and get it up on the cameras and get it up on the screens, and just really try to educate the people of how dangerous that, using fentanyl and that chemical especially is. So again, we will try that. We've got posters hung up, and we're just going to revitalize that whole campaign on education. We did have some promotions. We had 10 employees promoted. And again, this is just kind of a picture of progression. And really, the corporals have been at the detention center at least a year. So again, we are seeing better retention than maybe what we have in the past. The promotion to detention officer is 90 days. So once you get hired on, you go through your training and get established. In 90 days, you're promoted to detention officer. Then a year after your hire date, then you're eligible to become a corporal. So again, we're excited about the employees that are being promoted and the retention efforts that we're becoming to see. Ori Flint, I wanted to recognize him. He is a longtime volunteer. He's volunteered at the jail and really through the criminal justice system for over 20 years. He was an excellent man and an excellent volunteer for us, and he passed away on July the 11th, but I did want to recognize Ori and the work that he has done at the detention center. That concludes my presentation.
Are there questions, comments, discussion for Mr. Williams?
Yes, some questions. So first of all, I just want to thank you for the tour that you gave me several weeks ago. I guess it was about a month ago, but I learned a ton. I'm wondering, do you guys do exit interviews for people who leave?
If we can. Most of the time, they don't ever come back. They come in, they don't call, they don't show up, they don't really give us much exit interview feedback. But occasionally we will. We're able to talk to people as they leave. But typically, it's just no show, no show. They just kind of disappear.
So is there a policy where, like, if they give a 2-week notice or a 1-week notice, that's done?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any way we could be provided some of those?
Sure.
Okay.
They're rare. I'm telling you, they're rare that we get those back.
Okay.
The best we do is sometimes a phone call. We have people that try to call them and talk to them about, what happened or why they left or those kind of things. So mostly it's verbal is what we end up with.
Okay. And I think we discussed this when I took my tour, but what percent, and I think it's actually been discussed in this meeting, but what percentage of the day are they in lockdown or locked in their cells as opposed to being able to sort of like move about?
Yeah, it varies.
Okay.
It kind of depends. And again, that's one of the things that we have really tried to put emphasis on and increase. Typically, they're out 2 or 3 times a week for multiple hours at a time.
I'm just wondering what kind of incentives are available to incentivize, good behavior.
Yeah.
It sounds like time out of the cell is maybe not one of them. There's so little of it that scaling it back is.
One of the things that we talked about this week is we talked to our commissary vendor about some carts. So they're building some mobile carts. So we're going to put some canteen items on a mobile cart. And on Wednesday or a Thursday, on a particular day of the week, we will go to a particular pod that is acted well or, got their pod cleaned up and have, not had any misconduct or really been good. And we'll take that cart up and let them buy things off that cart as opposed to waiting a week. Typically, you put your order in 1 week in advance and then, on a particular day, you get your canteen. But we think that that cart would be really good. We're going to put some fresh things on there, some things that they normally maybe don't get, and take that cart and start rewarding good behavior and those kind of things with that food cart or that commissary cart.
Cool. One more thing. Other than, just sort of like routine promotions, what else is going into like the retention policy?
I don't know. We do cookouts, we do staff appreciations. We do those kind of things, but that's something that we've really struggled with is really how to reward or how to do those kind of things on a consistent basis. I'm not sure really where you're going or what I could provide for that.
Well, one of the things that has been talked about in the past is some of your folks go through cleat training.
Yeah.
Like what percentage would you say is?
Oh, very few. There's 2 classes a year, and we have 2 slots that we've been able to secure. So we have 2 people in cleat right now. But that's a 5-month program.
Sure. And I know there are folks that don't like people getting cleat certified, but I've been talking with some other folks, and it seems like people that have gone through the cleat training are able to sometimes go out and get like a cush job, like a secondary job, like doing some security or something like that, and that can maybe help.
We have done that. We do have an employee committee, a group of employees that we've put together, and that is kind of their function is to kind of look at what can we do to reward people, what can we do to motivate people, what can we do to recognize employees, and that's one of the things that we have been able to do. We've had one person go through that program, and unfortunately, she took another job a month after we got her back. So that's some of the downside to that as well. They're very sought after. I mean, once they get cleat certified, then the police agencies and the sheriff's department are very eager to snatch those folks up.
Thank you, Ryan. Other questions, comments, discussion regarding Mr. Williams' report? Greg, I do want to tell you, and I'm going to try to stay within our agenda because part of what I'm about to say could fall into some upcoming agenda items. But Aaron, Hannah, and I had the opportunity to visit the jail yesterday and have some focus group kind of conversations with some of the individuals who are being detained there. And in relation to your report and particularly staffing issues, I was so impressed with the apparent diversity within your staff. I mean, it looked like there was a lot of diversity within your staff. And it didn't seem like it was planned, but the 2 detention officers that accompanied us were phenomenal. And they got to hear the conversation that took place. And I'm going to ask a question here, but one of the things that was pointed out by a couple of the individuals that we visited with was the I want to say this the right way. Sometimes the attitude of staff toward a detainee, in the sense that they're short staffed. Everybody recognized that. Everybody sort of appreciated that. Even the individuals who are being detained there. But they said sometimes, if an officer is not having a good day, sometimes that is, and that's human nature. Sometimes that is portrayed on to the individuals who are being detained there. And so we had a pretty decent conversation with both the correctional officers, which I can't say enough good about, that accompanied us, as well as the individuals who are being detained there. And I don't know if that's something that can be taught, but I'm just curious if you could give us an idea, like within the trainings that take place for your staff, is attitude, is interaction, treating. You model this. Your top staff, Mac Mullings, there's a G in his name, he pointed out, models this. I mean, I see it being modeled, but I don't know. Could you speak to what is incorporated in your training for new employees to talk about the value of treating individuals with respect and dignity and value?
Right. And again, I didn't bring it, but we have a mission statement, we have a value statement that we go over in training and try to instill them. What is the mission of the organization? What are the values, and what are the things that we promote? And that's certainly part of the training. We also have lots of our training is geared around being professional, how you present yourself and how you communicate, how you de-escalate an incident, and how you. So all of that kind of incorporates what you're getting at. Again, it's a culture that is huge, and managing that is huge. And like you say, the leadership and really the entire culture of the facility is really something we advocate that with the detainees, and talk to them about really how you act and how you present yourself. So, we've done a lot of work on that, trying to convert what has traditionally been a law enforcement kind of a cops and robbers scenario. And really, we have worked very hard to try to change some of that culture and some of that mindset. And again, that's some of the dynamics that we've talked about, sending people to Cleveland. You want that law enforcement security aspect because it is an area that people expect high levels of security. But at the same time, you have to couple that with kind of a social worker, cop, kind of a mix is what we try to get to. So a lot of the things that we do, our policies, our training, our role modeling, just our approach. We have incident review boards, and anytime there's an incident in the jail, everybody that was involved in the incident comes together, and the leadership, the captains, and myself, and William Monday, we meet with all the staff that were involved in that incident. And again, those incidents are reviewed, and a lot of that discussion is how could we have prevented that? How did this get out of control? How did this escalate? What were some of the things that we could have done differently than use force or get involved in this confrontation? So again, that is something that we approach really on a daily basis.
Thank you. Mr. Buck?
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Just out of curiosity, I was thinking this through as you were giving your report, and it might be helpful feedback for some of the committee work that I'll be doing. When you think about your role as the chief executive of the operations, what are the 5 or 6 key metrics that you have on your dashboard that you use to self-evaluate how you're performing? I mean, I think about things like turnover rate. I think about assaultive behaviors. I think about, are there 5 or 6 that, in your role as executive, that you look at that you regularly monitor?
Of course, staffing is huge. You look at your staff. Again, you're looking at medical incidents, and again, a lot of it, you look at how many people are at the hospital, how long have they stayed, and again, we try to keep that number down, and it kind of gives you a reflection on how healthy your population is. Of course, you look at incidents. How many incidents did you have? And again, I look at that every morning. I look at those numbers. Of course, repairs. You look at any kind of damage and repairs because that gives you an idea of really. Are the inmates acting out? Are they being destructive, or are you getting them more to a pro-social mindset where they're not quite so destructive? And you look at what kind of those repairs are going on. So those are some of the key things that I look at nearly every morning and every afternoon. We look at that and try to think about that.
I want to ask you to comment, and I mean, comment to the extent you like, but some of the metrics I think that I look at as a citizen are things that are outside the direct control of your staff. For example, like length of stay and other things like that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I look at pregnancies again. How many pregnant people? And right now, I've got 7. I've got 7 women in the jail that are pregnant, and again, that kind of gives me an idea of maybe the mindset of the courts and how quickly are we getting people out. We work very hard to get pregnant detainees out of jail. So again, that's a number that I look at as well and kind of get a flow. Again, you look at how many DOC inmates do you have? I got 121. Well, that number's a little bit high. So I'm looking at that as well to see, are we getting judgment sentences on time? Are we getting, the Department of Corrections notified? Are they being responsive to really getting people out? There's a lot of things that I look at.
Hannah?
Anyone else? Okay. I was curious when, I know I listened to the DOJ report that was briefly given at the jail trust meeting, and we'll have a report from them later this fall. It seems like, have they, I think I remember 2022 when the trust took over that the DOJ hadn't been there to your knowledge. Have they visited prior to this most recent visit? While you've been there, they have?
No, they have not been there
Okay.
since the MOU, the original visit was in
2007, yeah. And then they wrote that in 2008, right?
Yeah, and they were here in 2008, 2009, 2018.
Okay.
And then this was the first visit since 2018.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a really big break. I really appreciated you letting us pop in on you yesterday and speak with individuals in the facility, and we're going to keep doing that and following up with them. I loved so much the initiative that she's taken to just improve the facility. I mean, obviously the individuals recognize that your staff is really pressed, and so that she had painted the hallway even, and it helped with the bed bugs out there, so she wanted to paint the inside of the cells and hoping that it would change that. And I wanted to note that I think it's entirely, it's a difficult situation. I mean, I've been deflated in prepping for this meeting just due to the deaths. I know that the answer is staff, perhaps, but man, I don't know what we can do to not see any more, deaths in that facility, and, policies and procedures and different things that we talk about. It's hard for me to not just go back to like, why are people dying in there? Is there anything else we can do to ensure that we don't lose another human life in that facility?
We have very unhealthy population. We have a very, very unhealthy population of people that come in. The needs and the level of care that they really need cannot be provided at the jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kind of goes back to what Mr. Buck was saying, just things outside of the staff's control and the administration's control. And
I mean, you have addiction.
Yeah, it's hard.
You have high levels of addiction, high levels of depression, high levels of mentally ill.
Yeah, and
people that
the
are just,
1 to 2 hours a day out a week out of the cell is not helping with that.
and they're out much more than that. They're out usually several hours at a time when they do come out. But again, they're not out enough.
The folks we spoke to yesterday said that they were out about an hour at a time, sometimes twice a week. So I know that varies when it seems like we have less staff than we did in 2008 when this memorandum was written. And I read through the memorandum, and a lot of the issues are the same, staffing deficiency. And so it's hard to know what to do or what to say when we have more deaths than Rikers Island currently. And I don't I don't want to see that number grow larger as we keep meeting. And so I don't know what the answer is, but that's what I've been struggling with. Is there any way that the meetings we're having, we can switch out? I don't know if other CAB members have interest in speaking with the detainees, but I just think it's really crucial that we keep doing that. And if you all have interest, we can swap out, because I know that we can't all meet together outside of this. So I just want to, for the record, state that I'm happy to switch out so that you all can go and ensure that you're hearing those voices. So it was really powerful yesterday to chat with them.
Yeah, that's actually agenda item number 7. We're going to talk about our format on that. You bet. Any other questions? Any other comments for Mr. Williams? Seeing none, thank you so much for the report and for being here and for your leadership. Do we need a motion to accept his report, or do we need to officially vote to accept his report? We do. Is there a motion? There is a motion and a second to accept Mr. Williams' report. I should ask, is there discussion? Debate? Seeing none, we will vote. I think Mr. Scobie may have to vote verbally.
Yes.
Agenda item number 4 is discussion and possible action regarding a report from the Recruitment and Retention of Staff Subcommittee. And I think that maybe, is that?
So Pastor Douglas is actually, I believe, the chair or vice chair.
Vice chair. We should, listen, we're happy to announce, Pastor Scobie, that it was unanimous. You have been selected as chair of the, and Pastor Douglas gave us his word that you would be okay with that. So he said that he agreed to be vice chair, if I'm remembering correctly, and said that between the two of you, he would make sure that it's covered. But anyway, that's congratulations. And on that, Aaron, I know that we both staff, or we were both present there.
Yes, you and I were both present for that. So I'm happy to give just a quick summary from that subcommittee meeting. And we talked extensively about needing to get some further data from Director Williams about current recruitment and retention activities, where job fairs may be taking place, any success or not unsuccess, or lack thereof, with those efforts. We also talked extensively about opportunities to have conversations with current staff by way of focus groups or a survey. I took the lead on gathering some of that data with Director Williams, and I have a full report from that discussion with him. It was very helpful. There are a lot of initiatives that are taking place. One of the things that he did not mention previously to Ryan's earlier question is that there is a subcommittee within the jail comprised of current staff that is focused on retention issues and or activities. And so I don't have any further detail beyond that, but I do know that there are efforts that have been taking place internally with voices from the staff to engage in that. But I have the full report, and I will be sending that out to the subcommittee. There's, of course, a lot of barriers to the recruitment and retention of staff. But one of the things that did emerge from my conversation with Director Williams was that there has not, to his knowledge, to this date, been an online survey done to engage current staff in some discussion or input feedback in terms of what do they like about their job at the jail, what do they not like, what efforts could take place to enhance the workplace culture, et cetera. And so we'll be taking the lead to engage time with his staff to create that survey and then get it distributed amongst the current staff, because I think that would be really helpful for us to have that baseline understanding. While I've just had limited interaction with staff. To Hannah and Chris's point, I did get a greater perspective of staff, and there are some exceptional staff there for sure. But we also heard some maybe not so positive things about other staff. And so I think it would be really good to have a bigger view of what staff are experiencing and how perhaps we can provide perspective to enhance that experience for them. So.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Yes, sir.
More of a statement and question blended into one. So I appreciate the report, and I'm glad that you are facilitating some data requests to the director. It occurs to me that as we think about the work in our 4 committees, some of the data requests that are made are going to bleed over into other committee work as well. So just as a question, would you be willing to share the information that the director provides you to the other subcommittees so that they can be informed if there is overlap in their work?
Oh, absolutely. I think that makes perfect sense. And I did want to clarify if that's appropriate for me to do that. Am I able to send a mass email to the full CAB with that data?
It can be done appropriately. I'll speak with you.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Aaron, for that wonderful report. Is there additional questions, comments, discussions?
Sorry for my voice. My allergies are acting up. Is there any kind of, I had a question about the survey. You just answered that. Is there any kind of like a problem resolution process or suggestion program for the employees? Do you have any idea? I think it's probably needed.
I don't know that. I think that's a great follow-up question for Director Williams, though.
Aaron, I have a quick question, and this may be for Michaela too, because I do not have my notes from the retention and recruitment of staff, or recruitment and retention of staff subcommittee. Did this subcommittee add additional members? I know the community relations.
Now that memory is coming back to me, I recall that we discussed potentially adding a member of the HR staff to the subcommittee. And I did talk to Director Williams about that. There had been a reference to a new employee that had been recently added, an HR director. He actually said that his HR director has been with him since the beginning. So she's not new, but he was open to the idea of having he only has 2 people in HR. Yeah, his staff is very limited. And so, I recognize that this is an additional duty. This would be an additional duty to serve on a subcommittee, but suffice it to say that was where we ended the last subcommittee, was discussion about adding a staff person.
That's right. We didn't want to make any decisions without Pastor Scobie's involvement, and I remember us discussing the HR person, and then there was a person from Amazon HR community individual that is an activist in Northeast Oklahoma City that was also discussed. So there's some names coming your way, Pastor Scobie, for consideration. Any other questions, comments regarding this report? Is there a motion to accept the report from the Recruitment and Retention of Staff Subcommittee? There's a motion and a second.
Yes.
Pastor Scobie, I don't know what Hannah's done to your iPad, but I apologize.
It's my little witchcraft.
I wouldn't know how to help at all. Agenda item number 5 is discussion and possible action regarding a report from the Community Relationships Subcommittee. Hannah, I believe you are the chair, but we're unable, yet a conflict in scheduling for this particular meeting. June Elkins Baker is the vice chair and stepped in and did a phenomenal job in chairing this committee. Leslie, I know that you're on there. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but do you have any thoughts or reflections that you would like to share by way of reports for this particular subcommittee?
We added a member to that committee, Marquise Miller. So that is something that I think will be very helpful. He'll be great for that committee. Oh, yeah, Wynema as well.
So there were actually three. This is a large subcommittee, and I remember that we had previously added a gentleman by the name of Derwin Ramey, and then we added two additional members at large. One is Marquise Miller, and the other is Wynema, if I'm saying that correctly. And what is her last name? Raw. And she works with June at Calm Waters and has a degree in substance misuse treatment and mental health. And I think it's going to be a fantastic subcommittee. Great discussion. I remember we had some really good discussion about how we can engage the community and really make sure that we're both receiving and transmitting information so that everybody is included and feels equipped and empowered to know what's going on and have avenues to participate. Are there questions for Leslie or Aaron or myself, or I think all present at this subcommittee in addition to June? Seeing no discussion, no debate, I would entertain a motion to accept the report. Lynn?
We had some discussion, but I'm not sure we really got, there was going to be reports. I think we want to accept the verbal report, no action on that.
Okay. I think knowing who the additional members are is substantive enough that it constitutes a report, because that was probably the most significant aspect of the meeting. And with that, I would entertain a motion to accept the update as a report. There is a motion and a second.
Yes.
Motion passes. Agenda item number 6 is discussion and possible action regarding the dates and times of the next convening of the Recruitment and Retention of Staff Subcommittee, the Community Relationships Subcommittee, the Policies and Procedures Subcommittee, and the Improvement to Operations Subcommittee. I think it's really important that we keep these dates in front of us just by way of reminder, and as we grow and as participation in our meetings grow, we always want people to know when the next convenings are. And I may defer to Ryan. I know that you're the chair. Stephen, you're chair of one of those subcommittees. Hannah, you're the chair of one of those subcommittees. So if you guys would like to give us an update on when the next convening would be, or we can.
Yeah, I'll just update on both the Policy and Procedures and the Operations Subcommittee. Both of those are meeting next Wednesday at 2:15 and 2:30. 2:15 for Policies and Procedures, 2:30 or immediately following the Policy and Procedures for the Operations Subcommittee.
And the Community Relationships Subcommittee next meeting is Wednesday, August 24th, as I have it at 10:45 a.m.
Michaela, could you give us an update on when the Recruitment and Retention of Staff Subcommittee is going to meet next?
August 24th, 9 a.m.
Just want to repeat this. So the Policies and Procedures Subcommittee and the Improvement to Operations Subcommittee will meet next Wednesday. Policy and Procedure at 2:15, Operations shortly thereafter. And then the Retention and Recruitment of Staff Subcommittee will meet on August the 24th at 9 a.m. and the Community Relationships Committee will meet on August the 24th at 10:45 a.m. Do I have a motion to accept? Do we need a motion to accept? We don't need a motion to accept that. Okay. Thank you, Lynn. Agenda item number 7 is discussion and possible action regarding the convening of dialogue, communication, and focus groups within individuals being detained in the Oklahoma County Detention Center. Members of the committee, I want to just kind of underscore the purpose and intent here. Let me just start by saying that if you're in my circle of regular communication, and you can ask anybody, they would tell you that I have been talking about each of you in detail, because I think the people on the Citizens Advisory Board are among the very best. I think that you're supposed to be here, and each of us bring the right perspective and the right balance to complete our mission. No secret, it is a priority for me to include voices of people with lived experience. It's very important to me, and finding appropriate ways to do that is also very important to me. The other thing I want to say, there are some great people in our community that consistently participate in our jail trust meetings that have concerns about what is happening within the Oklahoma County Jail. And I do believe that these individuals are well-intentioned. I respect their involvement and engagement. But at the same time, I would rather hear directly from the source and see for myself what's happening, rather than to hear that secondhand from an individual. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I say that, but it's really important to me that we can go directly and hear directly. And so we started this process, and my idea would be this, and I think that we do need to be careful. And Lynn, I'm going to look to you for some clarification. There are 9 members on this board, so we could never have more than 4 meet at a given time. So it is possible for up to 4 of us to participate in these focus groups.
Well,
We did 3 just to be safe.
Right. I'm just pointing out to you that if at some point you want to have more folks present, you could have a public meeting at another location. It will be significantly difficult. It may also chill the input that you get from detainees because everything's recorded. But I just want you to be aware of that. There's nothing that's, I mean, the county would like us to meet in this room and they like everything recorded, but there's nothing under the law that I'm aware of that would permit you from meeting at a different location as long as we post it properly. So just put that in the back of your mind if it becomes a necessity.
That's very, very helpful. I would also just say this, like Director Williams and his staff have said the door's wide open for us to have these conversations, but it is also important to me that this does not become an undue burden on the staff, because they're taking time. They're with us, and so they're taking time, or at least one of their senior staff is with us, and then detention officers are present as well. So given the fact that we've already talked about they're short-staffed, for us to go in and take 30 minutes or an hour to do this is not necessarily convenient for them in relation to their other work-related responsibilities, but they are have thus far enthusiastically accommodated us. So trying to play it safe, we didn't want to take more than 3 in our initial meeting, but if that's a safe number, we can stay with that.
Well, there's another concern that I've thought of as you're speaking. You know, we have our subcommittees, and if this looks like a subcommittee function, that it's, you know, several members of a subcommittee there, you have different numbers. You have different numbers of members there. So we're going to have to be cautious.
This is important, and thank you so much for walking us through this. This is not a subcommittee because it can't be, right? By virtue of like, we were told that there were other ways to maybe gather input.
Mm-hmm.
And so this may be, I'm calling it a focus group, but I just want to be clear that we're not like doing something unintentionally, and
Right.
you're so good to help us in this.
I'm just pointing to that perception, because if we say it's a focus group and you take a group of 4 people and they happen all to be on the same subcommittee, and that's a quorum of that subcommittee, we're kind of walking into some gray areas. So we'll try to help you come up with the best procedure. 3 would probably be safe, but you know, I haven't seen the minutes yet for the subcommittees where the new members were retained. So I don't immediately know about what the quorum numbers would be on your subcommittees because the jail trust hasn't authorized me to attend subcommittee meetings, and so I have to wait until I get minutes to see what's been done. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The idea is this, that whatever the rhythm is, if it's once every 2 weeks, that maybe a different cohort within the Citizens Advisory Board of those who would like to participate in these discussions would participate. And that makes no difference to me who that is. But if we limit it to 3, one time it could be Pastor Scobie, Hannah, and Aaron. The next time it may be Leslie, Stephen, and Ryan. The next time it may be myself, June, and Pastor Douglas. I mean, it doesn't matter, any mix of that. We do need to give Greg and or Mac a heads up, at least a day or two heads notice, so that they can make plans accordingly. But the idea is to go in, and I'll just tell you, and listen, you're fully empowered to handle these, to participate, to not participate, to ask the questions that you want to ask. But it gives us a really wonderful opportunity to have that direct interaction, as Aaron said, or as Hannah said, not only with individuals who are being detained there, but also with staff who work there. And for the purposes of this agenda item and for this report, I just want to very quickly zip through what was told to us yesterday, so that those voices can be present in our meeting. So we talked to some men, some very bright, articulate, incredibly positive young men. Everybody looks young to me these days, but they said that they wish that they could be outside more, like physically outside more, like have more access to fresh air and sunlight. They said that rodents and bed bugs continue to be a problem, and that weekends are particularly tough because they don't get to be out. They're locked in their cell all weekend, and I think that's because of staffing issues. So they definitely underscored the fact that they would like to be out of their cell more. They mentioned that they would benefit from more interaction with family and their support groups, that interaction can be very limited, especially if you're indigent. You get one phone call for up to 5 minutes per week, and everything beyond that you have to pay for. There are telephones in their cells, but many of them are not working, according to what we heard, and that's something that is a concern. They said that they would benefit in a perfect world, as we just said, let's kind of dream a little bit. They said that they would benefit from more exercise, like if there were a way to physically exercise and work out their, I think they said testosterone and energy, where they could be tired, there would be less desire to engage in altercations and things of that nature. They said the food tastes bland, and that they look forward to days where they can get eggs for breakfast and not just oatmeal or grits. And then we talked about how beneficial it would be, and this is not necessarily for them, but for anybody who is on medication, to receive at least a week's supply of medication when they are discharged, so that they can continue to be in compliance and not fall back because they don't have access to medication. And so those were the big takeaways that I remember from, or that I had noted from the men. I would stop there with our visit with the men and ask Hannah or Aaron if you have any additional insights or reflections that I may have missed.
I think they really, to your point about the family conversations, they really did seem like that was just something that, and they don't get contact visits anymore. So it is strictly over the phone. They can't even see people through the glass. So I don't know if that was like COVID or something, a protocol that kind of locked down around that time. I'm not sure. And then I remember him saying that, he had been in and out of the facility since 2018 was it 2008? Because it was a long amount of time, and he just basically had said, this is a start. Because I remember him saying that nobody had ever come in and asked what they needed. They had never been asked, what do you need and what do you think would improve the facility? And so even just that, knowing that we're going to come back and we are going to keep checking in with them, it felt like, there was something that they could think of next time. We caught them cold, as you said, Chris, and we said, chat with the folks around you and bring back to us what you see going on. And I think building that trust alone, they told us a lot, but I'm sure that there's more that it will take time and trust to build with them for them to really tell us more. But that was all from the men's, and then I took my notebook in with the women. So
Yeah, similarly, I think what resonated with me in the conversation with both the men and the women is just this hunger for connection. One of the things that Charles, one of the gentlemen, said was, none of us want to be in here. Like, we're all human, and we want so much to connect back to our families and know that they're okay. And what a relief it would be, even from a mental health standpoint, to just know that my kids are okay, and that they're hanging in there, that they rarely do get to speak to their families. And that really just cut me to the core, especially as a mom, and so I think, of course, they recognize, they're like, this isn't a 4-star hotel. We get it, yeah, the food is bland, but at the end of the day, we really just want to talk to our families and we want to feel valued. And I think that's what stood out. And I'm making assumptions here perhaps, but I think what stood out to them about us coming there and just listening to them was that they felt like they had a voice, and it gave them purpose for that moment and that day. And it was just so meaningful, I think, for all of us who were a part of those discussions.
Yeah, I would just underscore that. It felt like instant validation to me, both as a member of this committee, and I think they might have felt that as well. Very quickly, I want to honor our time in discussing issues within the female pods. We met with an incredible person by the name of Jennifer, who's a trustee. There are 3 female pods. I believe she mentioned that there may be somewhere in the neighborhood of about 260 women who are being detained in Oklahoma County on average-ish. They still are battling issues with bed bugs. And she was very excited, to Hannah's earlier point, that she was allowed to help paint hallways and cell rooms. And she said that fresh paint tends to reduce the issue with bed bugs and just makes it feel cleaner. And it looked really nice, the areas that she had done. She pointed out that they definitely need more staff. And as a trustee, she kind of sees what's going on behind the scenes because she has more time out and she can see how stretched the staff are. I don't think she was saying that in a way to be critical, but just like the staff here need more support, more help. She talked about the value of maybe implementing an orientation for new detainees. That she said as a particularly, she said there's a lot of younger women that are being processed into the Oklahoma County Jail, and they're scared, they're unsettled, and just to kind of know what to expect and how to behave and what the schedule's going to be, and how to process issues that they may have. If there was some sort of orientation for individuals who are entering the jail, she said that could be very helpful. She had mentioned that the situation for the most part in relation to female hygiene products was satisfactory, that they were being given, that there was, she kind of explained the process there, and that she felt like that might be satisfactory. She said that she felt safe, but not that everybody feels safe because of the instability. And she mentioned the value of of making sure that in the trainings for staff that they understand that it's okay to treat people who are detained there as human beings and that they don't need to come in with an attitude or a chip on their shoulder. And that would be very, very helpful in creating an environment that would be better. The final thing that we talked about with both the men and the women was the opportunity to potentially produce a questionnaire ahead of time to say, hey, these are the questions that we would like to discuss with you if you want to have some time to think through this and prepare for this, because she said there's a million things that she would like to tell us, but it's hard to think of all those things on the spot. So those are my big takeaways from the female side of things.
I just thought of something they both told us, which that it's still an issue with undergarments. That's weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. They're getting those changes of underwear, and I know as a woman or a person who menstruates, that's a really tough thing. So I wonder what exploring, washer and dryers or them. I mean, she took so much responsibility and was excited about the improving of the environment. I'm like, what else can we paint? And what else can, because she really does know, like Chris said, the landscape of kind of what's going on, both with the folks being detained and the staff. And she did mention that the culture of the way the staff even kind of treat each other sometimes can be hard to watch, in that there could be more getting done, but they're focused on who's doing less or more or that sort of thing. And so I was so appreciative of her sharing and look forward to chatting with her again.
I think maybe the best thing to do, if you're interested as a member of this board, if you're interested and have capacity to participate in these kind of discussions, if you would let me know. Again, there's no pressure. But I think that what we would want to do, to be fair to Greg and their staff, is maybe schedule regular set times, maybe in whatever time that is, if it's 3:00 on a Monday or Tuesday afternoon every 2 weeks, and then we can fill out a schedule of who's available to attend, just so that they can also plan for that. So I can get with Greg and ask him what might be the right rhythm and time of the week for that. And if you would like to participate, let us know, and we'll create a schedule where there's no more than 3 of us, and then we can also begin the process of creating a questionnaire, just so that they can have some questions ahead of time to consider, to reflect through. Lynn, do we need to receive this? Yes, questions, discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I am extremely appreciative of the fact that this is being worked into the rhythm of our work. So I want to applaud you for the idea, and thank you both for taking part along with the chairman in this first visit. I think it's extraordinarily important. One thought I have, you heard me earlier when the director was here asking him about metrics. One of the things I think that is important for us to inform our work is to develop a trending rhythm of the concerns that are being expressed by those people who are detained. You mentioned, for example, bed bugs. I would think part of our role would be to take a look in 6 months and see if that's still popping up as a recurring theme. So I don't know what that looks like, and I don't want to burden people, but if we're going to go through this exercise, the anecdotal is extremely important, and that shouldn't be lost on us. But we should use these opportunities to really establish a metric that we can use collectively in our role to advise.
Yeah, I agree, Stephen. I'm not a quantitative or qualitative researcher, but I do have a little bit of experience with human-centered design, which is kind of where, we would take how many people said bed bugs, and then we would put them all out on a wall and really visually see it. So I'm absolutely down to help with whatever that metric system looks like and getting it to work for. Did I say something wrong, Lynn? Okay, when everybody looks at Lynn, I get nervous. But yes, before we go for it, that's it. Just that I agree, and I was thinking about it yesterday. How do we add up? This many people said this, which really means we need to form a recommendation to the trust and that sort of thing to get those issues solved in any way we can. So
Lynn?
I'm wondering, it seems to me that you're more than accepting a report here. I think you kind of made a proposal. Maybe we need a motion as to what we're going to do going forward in a second, and then kind of vote on that.
Okay. Is there additional?
Still change it later, but for
Yeah.
now, this is what you're proposing.
For sure. Thank you, Lynn. Is there additional discussion on the report thus far? And then we'll put this in the form of a motion. Comments? Seeing none, I would make a motion that I reach out to Greg Williams and identify a time that members, up to 3 members of the CAB committee, could visit individuals being detained and detention officers who work at the county jail once every 2 weeks, and that we would also create a method to sign up for who can attend those meetings. I'm just thinking of Ryan because I'm never clear in my motions, and Ryan said last time, okay, what is the motion again? So that's it in a nutshell. Oh, did I do it right? There is a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none?
I would just say that you've lost a lot of your motion-making ability since you presided over the House.
Listen, it's all gone.
I don't know what has happened here, Mr. Chairman.
Left it all. I left it all behind. Other discussion, debate, seeing none, let's vote.
Yes.
Okay, agenda item number 8. This is the announcement of our next meeting for the Citizens Advisory Board, and it will be on Wednesday, September 14th at 9 a.m. Is there a motion to adjourn? There is a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you.